Greatsword is extremely powerful in Sunbreak, potentially even overpowered, and I don't say this lightly. Being able to deal 6000 damage to a monster right at the very start of a hunt cannot be understated. We now have not one but two new ways of playing Greatsword, both of which are greatly satisfying, and I, for one, am very happy about this, as Greatsword has always been a weapon that I've wanted to get into, but struggled to have a good time with it. If you've ever wanted to try using the Greatsword, now is the perfect time to do so, as it is potentially the strongest it has ever been. More on that later. But what makes the Greatsword so good in Sunbreak? Of course, the biggest addition to the Greatsword's arsenal is without a shadow of a doubt Strong Arm Stance, the new counter. The counter by itself isn't all that special or anything, but it's what you do with the counter that makes it feel so broken. It's almost as if you're breaking the rules of the game. So by pressing L2 on triangle, you go into Strong Arm Stance, a defensive stance where if you get hit, you are able to reduce the incoming attack and its damage, and you can retaliate in a variety of ways. If you simply counter an incoming attack, you can follow it up with a regular charge slash or with a tackle. However, if you're able to use a charge slash and while you're charging your greatsword, you press the left trigger, you can then follow up the strong arm stance counter with a rage slash or even a true charge slash. This means that, as long as you have 2 wire bugs, each time the monster is going to attack you is an opportunity to deal insane amounts of damage. Like I said at the beginning of the video, you can very easily and consistently go up to a monster at the start of the hunt, start a regular charge slash, counter the monster's roar, and then go into a true charge slash. And that will, more often than not, result in the monster being knocked down or flinching, so you are able to perform yet another true charge slash. And there's quite a bit of tech that you can do with the greatsword in order to do these more often. For example, I'm sure that by now you have seen a lot of greatsword users using small barrel bombs in order to counter their explosion and go immediately into a true charge slash. Because this is your strongest move in your entire kit, you really want to use it as much as you can, so the most reliable way of you yourself activating True Charge Slash is by placing down a barrel bomb, holding triangle to charge your greatsword, and immediately pressing the left trigger in order to activate Strong Arm Stance, and there you go. One other really cool trick that greatsword users can do, but a lot of them don't seem to use this, is to cut down the ending animation of True Charge Slash in order to perform another Charge Slash or whatever else you may feel like it. As you can see right here on the video, you simply use switch skill swapping after performing a True Charge Slash, and that will cancel a lot of the end animation of that move. So you can then start another charge slash, and if the monster is going to roar or attack you again, you can once again counter it with strong arm stance and go into another true charge slash. And of course, because these true charge slashes are being performed after using the strong arm stance counter, the damage of your true charge slash is going to be buffed by using offensive guards. So I really recommend that if you use the counter at all, you really should try to max out this skill in all of your greatsword sets. This is not only very easy to perform, but it's also extremely satisfying to pull off. But that's not all. As I said earlier in the video, you have a completely different way of using greatsword in Sunbreak. Surge Slash Combo is a new switch skill that allows you to perform a combination of very fast attacks which will replace your true charge combo. However, even if you have Surge Slash Combo equipped, you can still perform some charge slash attacks after you finish the combo or after you finish a counter. You can go from horizontal wide sweeps to vertical slashes depending on what's best for the situation, and you have this really badass attack where you raise the greatsword and then plunge it downwards, carrying its momentum, dragging it across the ground, and then finally hitting the monster for 2 beefy hits. Voila, chef's kiss. This is also very satisfying to pull off, however I'm still having some trouble using Surge / combo. I feel like it's actually a lot harder to play this playstyle than to actually use Charge / in combination with your counter. Here you have to be a lot more calculated, as otherwise you'll only be able to get 1 or 2 hits, and you'll be missing a lot of damage from the entire combo. You can mix and match the various different attacks from the Surge / combo. The vertical attacks have a lot of raw damage, and they can reach pretty high, so if you want to hit a monster's head, this may be a good tool for that. The circle attacks, because they are so wide, they are very easy to land, and they have a very high multiplier on elemental value. So if you feel like using elemental greatsword, or for example using blast greatsword, then this is a great viable option. You even get hyper armor on the 3rd horizontal attack, so you'll be able to power through monsters' attacks without even needing to use a shoulder tackle. And the upward swing moves you forward slightly, so it can be used to close the gap between you and the monster. Honestly, despite me not being great at using this combo to its full potential, and also this combo being seemingly weaker than using True Charge / in combination with the counter, this is a fantastic addition for greatsword users. Again, it is a whole new playstyle that is available for you in Sunbreak, and it can give a lot more variety and replayability in terms of using the same weapon. In a way, it kind of reminds me of the very old Monster Hunter where you couldn't even charge your greatsword. But greatsword has yet another switch skill that we need to talk about, and that is none other than the Backslide, which has the same button inputs as the power sheath. This is a quick maneuver that uses a single wire bug. You can use this in the middle of a charge combo, and you can use this to reposition yourself and keep your charge level, but not only do you keep the charge level, you actually raise it by 1, so you can go into a true charge / very quickly. Another really cool thing about Backslide is that it has Invincibility Frames. Now, I'm not sure why you would use this as opposed to Strong Arm Stance. Maybe you would use this if you only have a single wire bug, so you're not able to use the counter. Personally, I simply do not use this Silkbind attack. It takes the same slot as Power Sheath, which I think is incredibly more valuable as it has the same ability to get you out of danger's way, if not more than Backslide, because it seems like the distance that you cover with Power Sheath is a lot bigger, and you also get to sheath your weapon, so it is best to use that to avoid damage if that's your purpose. And of course, Power Sheath does increase the damage of your attacks by, I believe, 25%, which is insanely high, especially since you're using Greatsword, which is all about dealing an insane amount of damage. And again, if you're going for damage, you're likely using Offensive Guard with a counter, so you combine those two skills together, and you can have a true charge / that deals upwards of 3000 damage very consistently. But because of the different switch skill loadouts, you can of course equip Backslide in a different loadout, and you could change to it after you use a Power Sheath, so while you are still buffed by that skill, you can change to Backslide and then use it to reposition and land a big true charge /. Another neat thing about Backslide is that its recovery speed is fast, but I always use Wirebug Whisperer level 3 on my Greatsword set, so again, I'm not sure how much of an influence that is going to have. If you guys use Backslide and you enjoy using it, please tell me how you use it and why do you like it so much. I may try to incorporate it into my loadouts a bit more. And these are all of the additions that Greatsword has received in Sunbreak and why it is such a strong weapon to the point I would consider it overpowered in the expansion. Now, don't get me wrong, Greatsword has always been really good. It was not too long ago that we had the aerial Greatsword playstyle in Monster Hunter World, which revolved around finding a ledge and spamming charged attacks. This, however, was later patched, with this particular playstyle being heavily nerfed after what was a pretty funny situation involving Capcom's own Ryozo Tsujimoto-san that was memed a lot in the community. But Greatsword in Base Rise, while it certainly was a good and powerful weapon, it really wasn't all that fun in my opinion. It was all about powering through monsters' attacks with shoulder tackle and rage slash while trying to deal some big damage. You could use TCS in base Rise, however it was somewhat discouraged as many of the monsters were and still are quite agile, meaning that you would have to put yourself at a big risk if you were to ever attempt a TCS unless the monster you're hunting was on the floor or you had a really big opening. And because there was no switch skill swapping or switch skill loadouts in base Rise, you couldn't really change to TCS only when it was convenient, and then back to Rage Slash for more consistent damage. You had to pick one of those two and stick with it. Power Sheath was a wonderful addition to Greatsword's kit in base Rise, serving as a repositioning tool as you dash in a designated direction, and as the name indicated, it also sheaths your weapon, but it also acted as a way to increase your damage in the form of a substantial buff. Hunting Edge, while it is a very flashy move and very fun to use, it was probably never used by a lot of people because it simply wasn't as useful as Adamant's Charged Slash, a technique using a wire bug to dash forward and deliver a strong charged slash. The Silkbind also has a lot of armor in it, so it is a very reliable way of dealing damage. And at the end of the day, leaping forward into the air to perform this big attack with Hunting Edge, well, it's just a lot harder to land that attack. And it costing 2 wire bugs, it's a bit much. Or it was, because it was actually buffed in Sunbreak and now only requires a single wire bug. But the sad reality is that now it has to compete with Strong Arm Stance, which it is just insanely good. There's also a switch skill for a different type of charge, but personally I used it once and I hated it. I much prefer using the shoulder tackle, I feel like it's a lot faster and much more consistent. The new one seems to cover a lot more distance and maybe it remains active for a longer period of time, but because the startup animation is so slow, I really dislike using it. I also asked you guys how you felt about Greatsword in Sunbreak in a community post here on YouTube, so I'm going to be showcasing some of the comments here. Ashen Phoenix says, I had 12 Greatsword hunts in Rise, now I have 83. I really love Greatsword in Rise, I would say it's my second main now, still behind Switch Axe. And I absolutely agree, and Switch Axe is also my main weapon. The difference between Greatsword in base Rise and Sunbreak is incredible and the weapon just feels much better now. Shark says, I started using Greatsword in Sunbreak because of Surge / combo and it is so much fun. I don't think the DPS is as good as traditional charge Greatsword, but it's incredibly fun and the combos are really cool. And yeah, if you don't really care about DPS too much or just trying to hunt the monster as fast as possible, then use Surge / combo. As I said earlier, I'm still quite bad at it, but I'm slowly improving it and it is always satisfying to pull it off. And the fact that Elemental Greatsword is now a pretty decent playstyle because of the Surge / combo is something that really excites me as someone that always tries to find new ways of using the different weapons. If you guys want to see your comments featured in one of these videos, then look out for the community posts that I put here on YouTube. Let me know how you guys feel about Greatsword in Sunbreak. Once again, if you have never used it, now is the perfect time to get into it. I'm still messing around with some different builds, but I should have a Greatsword build video for you guys very soon, so be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, if you want to take a look at my Switch Axe guide or my Switch Axe builds, here's the video for you. Thank you all so much for watching, my name is Dark Hero and as always, happy hunting.